Another big story that we're watching right now at noon, the trial for a Carroll County teenager accused of killing her mother and stepfather has been delayed.
It's all because the defense and the prosecution are still waiting on the results of a psychological exam for Sarah Grace Patrick. Atlanta News First, Sarah Hammond is at the Carroll County Courthouse with more on what happened today.
The trial for Sarah Grace Patrick was scheduled to start this morning, but that has now been postponed to August 3rd, which is still under a year since the teen's indictment. Patrick is accused of shooting and killing her mother and stepfather in their bed back in February. 41-year-old Kristen Brock and 45-year-old James Brock. During a court hearing in early December, the defense said they were still waiting on the results of a psychological exam of Patrick. Today, they said they still do not have the final copy, and the state wants time to do their own exam. Judge Dustin Hightower reluctantly granted the motion to postpone the trial to August, acknowledging the very tight timeline he initially placed on both parties to be ready for the trial that was supposed to start today.
So even though I'm very reluctant to give a continuance in this case, I do think that it would be appropriate. With that being said, I don't want this case to languish. I still hold by what I told Ms. Patrick at the beginning. I don't want her to sit where she doesn't need to sit. That's not where she's supposed to be.
We learned from Patrick's family they will have to find another attorney because of this delay. They also tell us they are pushing for another bond hearing because of this new timeline. At the Carroll County Courthouse, Sarah Hammond for Atlanta News First.